Hey everyone, Naomi Clement here. Have you been feeling kind of stuck in your work? Maybe you've hit a plateau and aren't sure where to take it next. Or maybe you keep wondering how to find your style or voice as a maker. I get it, and I've been there. That's why I created my Finding Your Voice mentorship program. It's a 5-month virtual program designed specifically for makers like you who are ready to explore new creative directions and dig deeper into their work. The group is kept small with just 8 to 10 participants, so you get real feedback, creative prompts, one-on-one sessions with me, and a community of makers who are on the same journey as you. This mentorship is all about the why behind your work. So if you're ready to push your work forward, I invite you to apply. Applications are easy and open now through December 4th. You can learn more and apply now at naomiclement.com/voice. That's naomiclement.com/voice. I'd love to help guide you on your creative journey.
If you're listening to this in real time, as it airs today at the roughly beginning of November, we are in what I'm calling firing season. That Q4, November to December, probably started in October, maybe even September, the period of time where we as independent makers are literally firing on all cylinders. Whether that mean actually firing a kiln constantly every day or every other day, or whether that be personally just trying to keep up with all that's happening. It typically looks like something similar to having more markets in 1 month than you would normally ever say yes to, while also trying to pack up your booth from those markets as fast as humanly possible so that maybe you can make it to at least the second half or part of a Friendsgiving event or a hangout or a kid's performance at school or to take your family apple picking. It is busy season. And how you feel when New Year's Eve rolls around, whether you're completely exhausted and burned out or actually proud and energized by what you've accomplished. Well, that all depends on whether you are choosing or reacting during firing season. And that is exactly what we're going to dig into on this week's solo episode. The crucial difference between choosing and reacting. Primarily in our businesses, of course, and that's whether they're full-time or side hustling. But this is also true in our lives, because after all, our businesses don't exist in a vacuum outside of our lives. Choosing instead of reacting is equally important for both. And while it's pretty darn important all year round, it is especially crucial right now. So let's talk about it. Welcome to the Maker's Playbook, the show where we talk all about what it's really like to make a living from the things you make. I'm your host, seasoned entrepreneur of 14 years, Rebecca Ikes Cara. It's November. Your market schedule is more full than you usually let it because, well, it's Q4. This is the time of year to say yes to all of the things, right? This is the time of year when so many full-timers talk about making maybe even as much as 50% of their annual revenue, which, yes, is a little crazy, but also, yes, is often true. And so if you are wanting to explore this whole idea of possibly making a living from the things that you make, well, a busy, maybe even slightly overwhelming Q4, those final 3 months of the year, that just must be how it's going to be, right? You said yes to your busy market schedule for this season, but then you also just received an email about another small pop-up opportunity that sounds like it could be great. It's really only 3 to 4 hours, so that's manageable, right? Because it's on a date you technically are available. Even if it does mean you'd probably need to work past midnight for a week ahead of time to make enough inventory. That is, if the market the weekend before goes as well as that you hope it does. So you could probably say yes, right? You can make this work. And at the same time, You have a message from someone that you met this past summer at a market who is finally ready to place their order for a commission that you have been talking about for months with them. And oh, if you could have that colander ready for her by Christmas, that would be great. Even though you've never made a colander before, but she was really hoping she could gift it to her daughter who's coming into town only for 3 days. These kind of messages are rolling in while you're also scrolling Instagram, seeing how full everyone else's schedules seem to be, how many shop updates they're announcing, and markets that they're somehow managing to do all at the same time. So surely, if they can do it, you can figure this out. The mounting pressure of the comparison monster is turned up to full volume this time of year, no matter if you're a full-timer, side hustler, or somewhere in between. And we haven't even mentioned the noise coming from the big box major retailers out there. And I'm just going to make a sweeping statement on that one and go ahead and assume that none of us have some ridiculously outsized profit margin that is made only possible by taking advantage of workers and not paying people livable wages that then make it possible to offer 50, 60, and 70% off sales, all for the chaos and manufactured supply and demand of Black Friday. So let's just stop thinking that we need to offer some kind of deal the week before, the week of, and or the week after Thanksgiving, or roughly the end of November, depending on what country you live in. Okay, let's just forget about Black Friday. But I digress on that point. Getting back to wherever I was, the mounting pressure of comparison that can show up at any moment, but it does seem to have a megaphone this time of year. And yet, there's also this tiny, quiet whisper of a voice. Didn't I say I wasn't going to do this to myself again? Don't you remember how tired you were? But the megaphone swoops back in and says, but people want things now. They might not want them in January. You should seize this opportunity. It might not be here later. Who knows what you'll miss out on? And then the quiet voice gets a little quieter as it whispers, but are you sure? I'll be honest, my friends, for many, many years, that megaphone won out for me every time. Making decisions based on what everyone else was doing, saying yes because I was afraid of what it might mean if I say no, adding things to an already full calendar because technically that exact date was available, never mind the impact that it had on all the other dates surrounding it. I would compare my schedule to what I saw people doing on Instagram and always feel behind. I was operating from a place of fear. What if this was my only chance? What if they, in fact, did not call in January? Now, when I say it all out loud like that, it does sound a little silly. But I'm pretty sure I'm not alone, because in fact, it isn't silly. Maybe you're even in the middle of this right now. Maybe you've already said yes to that extra market you had not planned for, and now you wish you hadn't. Maybe you were just trying to figure out how you might be able to squeeze in an online shop update after seeing so many fellow makers talk about theirs already, even though you know if you do it, it means the time to do all of the packing and all of the shipping is going to collide with so many family and personal things you already have going on. And so instead of getting quality time with the ones you love, you'll be left staying up late at night, putting things into boxes and adding shipping labels and waking up tired instead of fully present to the people that you love. All of these examples are what I described at the very beginning of this episode as reacting. We're reacting to the world around us the way someone working in an office reacts to an email. You already had a list of what you needed to get done today, but then as soon as that ping of a new message alert comes through, you're stopping what you already had planned, what you already knew was important to get done, to react and respond. Typically, immediately, to an email. It disrupts your flow, it makes it hard to get back into what you were doing before, and it delays the larger work that, if we're looking at the long game, was what really actually needed to get done. The email in this example could have waited. Now, this might sound like semantics to you, but it goes so much deeper, believe me, because choosing instead of reacting can create an entirely different life. And yes, I know that sounds dramatic. And no, I'm not going to edit it to be less dramatic. Because an entirely different life is exactly what happened when I, personally, finally started choosing. A few years ago, around about this time, I started getting inquiries for corporate holiday parties to be photographed. Like usual, this happened every year. Much of those inquiries come at the very last minute. Similar to, let's say, a well-meaning commission request from your cousin who wants you to make the thing that she saw at Crate and Barrel, but instead of buying it from Crate and Barrel, she wants to support you, even though you've never actually made a lidded casserole dish and have never expressed any desire to make a lidded casserole dish. But, hypothetically, obviously. Anyway, the corporate holiday parties, realizing that they want a photographer is always at the last minute, just the way your well-meaning relatives don't really understand how long it takes to make something in clay. And yet, for a decade, if the date was open, we were booking the gig. Whether it was me headed out for yet another evening of documenting investment bros having 3 too many cocktails and telling horrible, mostly offensive jokes, or as my business grew and as I built out a team, sending a team member to go out to photograph the event and then bringing me back the photos to do all the editing. We said yes because the date itself of that particular event was available, just like a market date. Plain and simple. That's how it's always been done. It sounds sensible, right? The goal was to have a successful photography business. And frankly, business was booming. But by the time these November and December opportunities, and please hear the air quotes in my voice here, by the time these opportunities rolled around, we had already put in a full summer and an absolutely insane fall schedule of weddings and events. Maybe we could ride out the adrenaline fumes into November, but for sure by December, we were all tired. We knew January would get quiet, so we continued to say yes to whatever was offered for December, because January felt scary. The phone didn't ring that much in January, or February for that matter. And so we had to make up for it, didn't we? We had to say yes to everything in December to make those quiet months okay. We had to. Did we? That sneaky question was posed to me about 4 years ago, when I was once again tired from the full summer and fall schedule and the holiday party opportunities started to come in. I had opened up yet another inquiry email asking about our availability for a December date. I looked at the calendar and it was indeed open. But I really didn't want to do it. And I knew my team members were equally tired, so I didn't want to just pass it off onto them either. But scary January, scary February. I should say yes, right? Enter Francesco. But do you need to? That was an interesting question. There's no should in that sentence. And again, this all sounds so obvious when I say it out loud, but when you're in the thick of it, it can be so hard to simply take that pause and ask the question, do you need to? With that one question, I entered my season of choosing, which really at this point is more of a full on phase of life, to be honest, but we can talk about that later. The question, did I need to? Well, in actuality, when I paused and took just 2 minutes to look at our numbers, look back at the goals I had written down for the year, take a reality check of the finances, well, putting it succinctly, when I looked at the facts, the data, the reality, instead of the shoulds and all the feelings, I realized no, in fact, I did not need to. We had hit our goals, things were stable. It was totally okay and perfectly safe, in fact, to say no, even if January and February were going to be quiet. What a relief! What a crazy brand new experience. I could run a successful business and say no to new opportunities, even if they were on dates when we had availability. And while I know this is going to sound cliche, I'm going to say it anyway. It is not an exaggeration to say that pretty much everything has changed from that point on. Choosing instead of reacting. It doesn't mean that you're not busy sometimes. Lord knows we are. But it means that when we are busy, it's for a very specific reason, a very specific choice that we made intentionally. That also, and this is the important part, if you're half listening, come back, a choice that serves a larger purpose. We are working to avoid being busy for the sake of simply being busy. Now, getting back to this firing season, let me put it this way. Right now, small businesses all over the world are getting busy. For retail stores, maybe that's the gradual increase in shoppers. For makers, that is a far less gradual increase in producing inventory. Let's say, for example, that inventory is ornaments this time of year. You're working away late night hours in the studio, making as many ornaments as you can. But why? Because it's November, and that's just the obvious thing to make right now because they should be easy to sell, right? Or because you love making ornaments, and it's something you look forward to every year. Coming up with a new, clever idea that maybe connects back to the year before, so your regular customers start growing a little collection of your unique ornaments over time. I don't even make ornaments personally, and it's already more fun for me to simply describe the example of someone who loves to make them than to create a hypothetical example of the person solely making them for more sales. The visual I get in my head of these are two dramatically different ornaments as well. It's choosing versus reacting. If you have chosen to make ornaments, you are probably already thinking about them a few weeks ago, if not a month or two. You're still busy. There's still a lot to do. But in a way, even when you're tired, it excites you. Even if you spend some late nights at the studio, even if you are physically tired, mentally, there's still a certain aspect of it that you enjoy, or dare I say, is fun, even while you're tying on all of those strings to all of those ornaments. But if you've reacted to making ornaments after seeing so many other makers starting to share their full tables of production mode ornament making late nights, well, it's not so fun. It feels urgent. It feels stressful. It feels like you're behind. You're sitting there making something that maybe in your head you know is fine or it's good enough, but it might not really feel like an item that is yours, that's exciting for you. Maybe you saw a version of it online and decided to just go ahead and make something similar, but it's not your voice. At best, it's a quick and easy thing to increase your sales, and at worst, It's a total drag. You might not even be in the studio as late as the person who is excitingly working away on their own ornaments, and yet you feel more tired because you reacted. You saw something happening, felt obligated to do the same or else, and now the burnout is knocking at the door. Did I just fit another fire metaphor or two in that sentence? You bet I did. I don't take it back. Now, to be clear, choosing does not always mean choosing less. It can mean less, but it might not. Here comes the phrase that I use the absolute most in conversations inside of the community, and I can already hear some of our members saying it out loud and laughing. It depends. Choosing is about agency. It's about pausing to ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to? Or am I doing this because I think that I have to? Do I have to? What do I need right now? Financially, energetically, personally, physically? Am I making this decision from a place of fear or from a place of clarity? Ultimately, the question is, do you have a clear vision of what success means for you? Right now, in this moment in life, uniquely to your life, in this phase of business, in the stage that you're in, whether it's full-time or side hustling, it doesn't matter. The questions are the same. But all of these questions are big questions. And they can be super hard to figure out for ourselves if we're trying to think about them amidst the megaphone shouting at us from all sides of the internet about what we should be doing. I swear, if I see yet another suggested post that starts with something along the lines of, if you're not doing this one thing, you're totally missing out, I will actually scream. So, how do we work up the personal strength and confidence to take that pause and ask ourselves if we need to do the thing? To have the courage to say, actually, no, I'm going to turn down that opportunity. When the rest of the maker world is making ornaments and the idea of having to tie 100 little pieces of string to a loop of a wire makes you want to scream, how can you confidently pause and truly believe it when you say, you know what? That's awesome for you. I am thrilled that you love making ornaments, and I'm so excited for you that they are selling like hotcakes. I'm going to tell the next person who asks me about ornaments about yours. Because when I think about it, I absolutely do not want to make them right now. And that's okay too. Do you maybe want to tell the people who ask you about candle holders about mine if you don't want to make those? Having the courage and the confidence to choose what is best for ourselves can be really freaking scary, if I'm being completely honest. It is frankly a lot easier to just do what the internet influencer / educators, air quotes, out there say to do. Because usually they are giving very short, specific, clearly right versus wrong answers. It is the, if you're not doing this, you're going to miss out type of information. If you want to be successful, then you have to do insert whatever. Work late hours, burn the midnight oil, overbook yourself through the holidays, make reels, start a Pinterest, create a pre-order system, do wholesale. No, don't do wholesale. The list is clearly endless and, frankly, contradictory. But the actual reality is, and I can hear the community members giggling again, the actual reality, it depends. And when what's right for you is different than what it feels like everyone else is saying, it can be really hard to stand your ground and choose what's best for yourself. Building a life of success on our own terms can feel really freaking lonely sometimes. The number of times we let the "I should be" phrases creeping into our minds can pile up faster than the leaves in my yard after a gust of wind. And that literally happened yesterday, like 45 seconds after I stopped raking. Thank you so much, Mother Nature, for that one. But, I never present a problem without offering a solution, or at least the opportunity for a bit of help. So how can we start to have the confidence to pause and choose instead of react? Or put another way, how can we learn to trust ourselves? Frankly, from my life experience at least, we learn that with support. We do this by surrounding ourselves with people who get it, who might not have the exact same path as you, but who are journeying alongside on a similar one, actively working through the same difficult questions. By having somewhere that you can talk through or write out those questions that pop up when you do actually pause before reacting, so that you can work through the options not alone in the dark staring at your phone, but through conversation and learning from others who have been there before. Now, obviously, all of that, this conversation you and I are having right now, it's happening as an actual dialogue, not just you responding out loud potentially to your headphones. The dialogue version of this is happening inside of the community from now until the end of the year, because it's firing season. Not only do we have a live event happening on November 16th to very pragmatically support all of us in choosing what's best for ourselves for this particular time of year, we also have weekly prompts to make sure we continue to take those small pauses and recalibrate, sticking to our own unique goals. Because as much as you might decide today that that's what you're going to do, next week when that opportunity comes up, it can be hard to stick to it. And alongside those weekly prompts, we have 4 member-led co-working sessions at all different times of the day to get even more support from fellow makers, or to give you a boost of energy if you are indeed logging those long studio hours this time of year, because that's what you need for yourself uniquely. But this isn't a list of more stuff that you have to try to fit into an already busy firing season schedule. All of these questions to intentionally choose, they're not homework. Instead, it's a path to gaining perspective. It is an active practice, much like our making practices. It's having a place to come when you're overwhelmed. It's having a safe space to work through the questions when things are murky and unclear, and there's not a definite right or wrong, you have to do this or else answer. It's knowing there's somewhere you can go where there are people who understand how hard it is, and being able to walk away with confidence in your decisions. Frankly, for me, it's magic. Now, you know that I would love for you to come join us inside of the community. And as always, you can find out more about membership and the year-round perks of joining by visiting makersplaybook.com/community. But regardless of whether that's the right fit for you or not, I hope this firing season you muster up the courage to pause and choose. It is possible to arrive to New Year's Eve energized instead of burnt out. You can be a maker during the holidays and still have time and energy available for your loved ones. Firing on all cylinders can be invigorating, or it can be exhausting. It all depends on choosing instead of reacting. As always, my friends, together, we've got this. Audio post-production of this podcast is made possible by help from Kirsty Kotzvan, with promotional material assistance from Queenie Maliki. The Maker's Playbook podcast is recorded on the original homelands of the Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee people, where the people of Wisconsin's sovereign Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Oneida, and Mohican nations remain present.
This podcast is a production of the Brickyard Network. To find out more about our lineup of ceramic podcasts, visit brickyardnetwork.org.